Good morning. How are you all doing? It is very, very stormy here in the Netherlands, so I hope the rain falling on the attic window doesn't interfere too much with my sound. I wanted to talk today about the middle child. I am an older child myself, and I have a younger brother, so I don't have personal experience with this being a middle child myself. But I do have three children. And before deciding for the third one, I did a lot of reading when it came to the middle child because obviously having a third baby would turn my youngest to a middle child. And you read all those characterizations like that's the sandwich child and it's always in the middle and it's pulled in two directions and middle children have all sorts of issues but also extra sets of skills like supposedly they're more adaptable, all kinds of different things that actually are not scientifically proven. Like I had watched among many other things during my research, I had watched a video on YouTube that was actually saying um, that there is no proof that your order of birth in the family affects your personality. There is no scientific proof because obviously there is quite some empirical proof as well. And I do understand it is very hard to do proper scientific research on these topics, given that it is about people and we are very complex and our personalities are affected by lots of different things. However, this is not about the science behind it and does it really affect your personality or not, but it is about giving you some tips and sharing with you my experience of how we actually try to help our second child when she became the third child and how she experienced this transition. Now, to give you a bit of background information, my children all have 3 years between them. So my oldest is born in June 2014. The middle one is born in June 2017, and then January 2021, our last daughter was born. Uh, and this means that actually, by the time that the youngest one was born, our middle child was just 3.5 years old. You would expect maybe some jealousy or her asking for attention, these kind of things. And these things did happen to some extent, but not to a greater extent than what happened when our oldest child was not a single child anymore, an only child anymore, and she got her sister. Actually, our oldest reactions were much more prominent than when our middle one became an older sister. But as they grow older, you can see that the middle child, our middle child, has periods that she is having difficulties because of her position in the family. She's not the oldest and the wisest and the most capable of doing all sorts of different things. And she's also not the youngest. She's not the baby of the family. She's not the one to which many things are forgiven just because she is the youngest and she's just too young to achieve specific things for us to have specific expectations from her. Um, so I have researched ways on how we can actually help her and support her to find her authentic self, to find out who she is, to feel comfortable in her shoes, and to have less of a need to constantly prove, prove her existence, prove who she is, and ask for attention actually in ways that are more, well, not acceptable, but in ways that are make us also more willing to give her that attention, and not ask attention in a negative way, which is something that did happen a lot at some point. And it might also be a personality trait, right? So we can't be sure about that. So the first thing that I did, that we did, and worked quite well, was to talk about the child's new position in the family. So it is really important not to disregard your child's feelings. Like when Vera Jo told me that, yeah, I'm annoyed because I'm not the oldest like Lulu, and I'm also not the baby, and I can't do the things that Lulu can do, but I'm also not allowed to do things that Ella is doing, and that annoys me. It is really important to actually listen instead of talking and trying to shush your child and disregard their feelings. It is important to give them the space to really express what they're feeling, express their emotional challenges, and just really listen for as long as they want to keep talking about it and as long as they want to keep ranting about it. And then there will be a time to talk and unpack their feelings. But giving them space to express what they're feeling is of the utmost importance at this stage. Then another thing you can do is actually to talk about the positive aspects of having both older and younger siblings. And that is, of course, true not just for a middle child, but also for a child that is getting a younger sibling, or for a younger sibling who feels resentful towards their older brother or sister. Um, you can talk about how they can learn things from the oldest brother or sister, how it's really nice that they can be their playmate as well. They have someone who can give them ideas of things to do when they are bored. They have someone that can show them how to do fun things like climb onto trees, or make more difficult puzzles with the help of the older child, that kind of stuff. And also what they can do with a younger child, that they have someone who is actually admiring them a lot, who's looking up to them, who is very eager and willing to learn things from them. And that would be the younger child. So talk in a positive way about all the different dynamics that develop as the children play, and things that they can mean for each other in the daily life. Asking for help from an older sibling. Maybe the middle child is still too young to make a cup of tea on their own, but they can ask help from the older child, and in turn they can help their younger child put milk in their tea, for example, or prepare a snack to eat along with their tea, or stuff like that. Talk about that interconnectedness and how they can support each other and be a safety net for each other. And I don't mean when I say safety net, obviously the parents are the ones responsible to keep the children safe, right? Like I would never put a child responsible for the safety of another one, but I mean on their level to explain how it gives them an extra layer of security and help always being around. Number three, it is important to talk about the stories that we tell ourselves. So if the middle child is referring all the time to themselves as being the middle child and how hard it is and not being the older or the youngest, it is important to talk to them about the power that language has and the power of the stories that we tell ourselves have. And you can tell them that instead of referring to themselves as the middle child, they can focus on other identities that they have, because all of us have many different identities, many different roles in our lives. So instead of being the middle one, you can ask them, what else are you? You're my baby and I love you. You are also someone who is very creative, or someone who is really good at sports, or someone who is always there for their friends, or someone who is really into books, or into solving riddles. Or use all their interests in order to show them, and other things that they're good in order to show them that they can focus on this type of these parts of their identity, instead of focusing on one part that makes them feel uncomfortable, whether you find that reasonable or not, their feelings, I mean. It is important to show them and to remind them all the unique things about them. And uniqueness is a key word here, because maybe all three siblings are very creative, and this is something that happens in our family. All three of my kids are really good with language, for example, even the little one, like her vocabulary is quite advanced. So I wouldn't talk to my middle child about how she's good with language, because all three of them are. But she's really good in things that have to do with her body, like jumping, doing ballet, dancing, this kind of more active attitude that my oldest actually does not have. And the baby is not a baby anymore, but she's not there yet. Like she will jump around, but she can't dance like the middle sister can, for example. Um, and then number four, it is also good to ask them, what is it that they envy about their siblings? What is it that they would like to have? What is it that they feel that their siblings have because of their position in the family that they actually do not have? Usually it would be that the oldest child is allowed to do more things, or has more responsibilities, or is trusted to do more stuff or more difficult stuff. And if there are younger siblings, it is usually that they get more attention or more time from the parents, especially, if you have a baby in the house, like a newborn. It is true, it is very normal that you will be more busy with the baby because their survival depends on you. So you have, of course, to feed the baby, put them to bed, help them burp, all sorts of things that you do with newborns. Um, but it is important to just sit down and ask your child, and again, focus and listen to what they are telling you, instead of trying to say, yeah, but the newborn, they can't do anything. No, just listen. Like when your child says, I'm annoyed because you're all the time busy with the baby, instead of jumping in and saying, yes, but the baby really needs me because it can't walk on their own, or they cannot eat on their own. Just say, oh, you wish I could spend more time with you. Is that what you're saying? Or just say, oh, and why does that annoy you? What would you like to do with me during the time that I'm busy with the baby? So just don't try to excuse yourself. Don't try to explain. Try to gather information about why your child is feeling the way that they are feeling. Or if they say, that I'm annoyed that my older brother or sister is allowed to go out with their friends, but I'm not, you can say, would you also like to do that? Is that right? Am I hearing right? Would you also like to be able to go out with your friends? And then you can ask, like, why do you think that's not possible yet? And maybe they say, because I haven't practiced yet on crossing the street on my own, or because, my friends are also not allowed to do that yet because they're younger, so I wouldn't have anyone to go out with, this kind of things. So you can figure out solutions, like, you can tell them things like, okay, maybe we can practice walking to school together, and then I can walk in a distance behind you and see if you can manage on your own. Or maybe we can ask if there is a friend that would be willing to go out with you to the park, and maybe your older siblings could also come with you. Maybe we can find some middle ground. So instead of brushing off their worries and telling them that, no, we can't do that because you're too little yet, or no, you can't leave your room a mess because you're too old now. You should take care of your things. Just try and find a solution, a middle ground, a way to make them feel listened to, and make them feel heard, and make them feel seen in a metaphorical way. Another thing that you could do, I have here in my notes, is actually on a relaxed afternoon, not after a crisis, not after a big fight with their siblings, but in a calm moment, ask other family members to share how they feel about their position in the family. So then your middle child, or your child who has issues with their siblings, can realize that whatever your birth order in the family is, there are always pros and cons. For example, I see there is a common ground that usually older children are the ones who have to fight for their freedom, while then the second children or the third children, parents already take lots of freedoms for granted, and the second child or the following children don't have to fight for their freedom to go out and stay out late, for example. Or for example, younger children can always say, yeah, I always felt that my older brother or sister was better at everything, and I had to really struggle and fight to to match their achievements at school, for instance, these kind of things. And you can explain how later, when growing up, you realized why these differences occurred, why it was the way it was. And of course, the first child, they always get all the attention of the parents because they're the only one. But then, if you're a second child or a third child, you have the added bonus of the attention of your siblings. And one thing that is very, very important is to try as much as you can and never compare brothers and sisters to each other. Not for good, not for bad. Maybe it is quite obvious that if you say, look, your brother, he's eating so neatly, and you make a mess on the table, or saying your brother already has all his homework done and you're there playing and you're not responsible like your brother. Maybe that's obvious that you shouldn't do that. But also positive things like, oh, you're also really good at drawing like your sister. This is also not working, and is going to subconsciously put the children in a position of comparing each other, like to one another. And I have read a couple of books on sibling rivalry, but this is not what I want to talk about here. This is more focusing on one child and the feelings of one child that is troubled and feels a bit not feeling, not really feeling well, not feeling stable and grounded in their position in the family, instead of really talking about the dynamics of sibling relationships. And one-on-one time definitely helps as well. Like, try and have dates with a child that seems to be needing your attention more at this time in life. Um, that is much easier said than done. Of course, if you have a busy schedule, but especially if you do have a partner, if you're lucky enough not to be a single parent, then do try and take turns going out and spending time alone with the child. You don't even have to go out. Of course, like, my children really enjoy going for a cup of coffee with mom or dad, but you can always spend time doing a puzzle together in a room and chatting while the other siblings are with the other parent or caregiver as well. That's also a way to do it. Um, that was that for now. I hope it helped you a bit if you're struggling, or if you have a little one that is struggling a bit with their position in the family. And we'll definitely come back to this topic and talk more extensively about sibling relationships and what we have learned those almost 10 years of parenting 3 kids. Have a nice day and talk to you soon. Bye.